Then, JD, if you look back at Lane Kiffin's first week and all the things that you described that went down in those first 7 days, how would you grade the first week as head coach? Like when you're looking at the president, the first 90 days, the first 7 days as LSU head football coach, how would you grade the start to his LSU tenure?
Well, I think that there were some people a little nervous at the beginning of the week. Now, when he first got to Baton Rouge on the Sunday, Michael Caldwell had the great shot of him and Coach Kiffin and Lamar Brown stepping out onto the balcony at Football Ops, and everyone cheered. And then after that, there was some trepidation about these defensive linemen, Richard Anderson from Carr in New Orleans, Lamar Brown, U-High here in Baton Rouge. Some guys did not sign on signing day. And talking to my guys in recruiting, like Mike Scarborough, who followed this stuff much more closely than I do, that the defensive linemen were the utmost importance in this recruiting class. Those were the people they had to have. And so didn't sign on signing day that Wednesday, but then the Friday I think we'll look back on as a fantastic Friday for Coach Kiffin, not only signing 3 defensive linemen that day, but also talking pretty closely to people in the situation. Blake Baker was pretty torn on Friday afternoon in terms of what he was going to do. Does he stay at LSU as a defensive coordinator, or does he go to Tulane to become the new head coach? And I think that Coach Baker had told players, recruits, that he was staying. I think he felt that he needed to stay to be loyal to what he told them. I think that his family got tired of moving. They've been moving a lot in previous years, and some people may say, "Oh, well, it's just an hour down the road." It's still moving. It's still your kids having to make new friends and go to a new school, and certainly he's going to be well compensated. I mean, he's going to be paid over $3 million a year to be the defensive coordinator at LSU. So they'll take care of him, and there's pressure to win now at Tulane too. Not to say that he couldn't do it, but I think Tulane is like 43-12 in the last 4 years or so. So they're winning lots of games over there. And, if you go over there and go 7-5, they won't be happy with you. And what's your roster look like? How many people is John Summerall taking? How many players is he going to take from Tulane to Florida? I don't know. But so you keep Blake Baker. And, of course, Blake Baker is attached to your Kevin Peoples, your edge rusher coach. And then Jake Olson there in the secondary with the safeties. Keeping Corey Raymond certainly is very important, I think, especially for players like DJ Pickett. And so now you just see what happens with the D-line. Apparently this Elijah Robinson is getting cold feet maybe, or second thoughts. I'm not quite sure. I've just kind of read what's been going on. And so, yeah, I think it was a big week for him. And now I guess some of his coaches can coach Ole Miss in their playoff game. I think that one way or the other, Ole Miss is set up, or the situation is set up for, Lane Kiffin to be viewed poorly by Rebel fans. If they go and flame out in the playoffs, it's his fault because he disrupted the continuity and caused a big distraction to the team. And if for some reason they would go on a run and win the whole thing, they'd say, "Hey, see, we proved it. We can do it without you." So it's going to be very fascinating to watch, especially this first game when you got Ole Miss and Tulane playing in Oxford with all the connections of the coaches and the storylines and all those different things.
And you bring up Elijah Robinson and the defensive line coach position. And like you said, there's been a lot of conversations around, maybe second thoughts, cold feet, that sort of situation. But that's really the only name you've heard pop up around the D-line coach, besides maybe one name that I think is more so the fan base than anybody bringing it up. What are your thoughts on the potential of a Ed Orgeron return as the defensive line coach at LSU?
Well, I think it's pretty clear he'd do it.
Right.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of people out there who, if they were the head coach at a major school like LSU and were the head coach of the greatest team in the program's history and were let go, they probably would not return to that school as an assistant coach. Pride, ego, whatever you want to say. But in Coach O's case, I think because of his relationship with Lane Kiffin and the fact that they're friends, and that Coach O would do that. Certainly Tulane has chosen a head coach I think Coach O was very interested in that position as well. So Tulane has filled that spot. I heard some. I mean, this is strictly rumors for a forum like this one. I heard some stuff about Ogeron perhaps joining John Summerall at Florida. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We'll see. But I think it would be hilarious on one hand to see that happen, and certainly I think that a lot of fans, I think more fans than not, would certainly embrace Coach O returning as a positions coach, coaching the D-line and recruiting for LSU. Certainly it ran its course as the head coach, him being in charge of the whole thing, but if he could be a great recruiter for the program and be a D-line coach, I think a lot of fans would certainly get their arms around that. Your staff with Kiffin and Corey Raymond and Blake Baker, and I think that would go over pretty well. But I haven't heard a whole lot about that happening yet. So we'll have to wait and see. I think it's interesting sometimes what fans want and sometimes what we want in the media and what reality is.
Right. Sometimes
are far apart.
And I think a lot of why there is maybe the conversation around it is more so the recruiting aspect. If you do lose a guy like Frank Wilson, wanting someone like Ed Orgeron to come back in to keep those relationships intact, what are your takes and your thoughts on the current Frank Wilson situation and kind of how you think that'll play out over the coming weeks?
Well, I just want to be objective about it. I love Frank Wilson. He was my neighbor. We lived in the same neighborhood here for a while. I'd see him, and certainly he has recruited numerous high-profile athletes to LSU. He has brought in guys like Leonard Fournette and on down the line, big-time running backs. And would I like him to be back? Sure. I'd be happy if he comes back, and I think he'd be a great asset to LSU. On the other hand, I'm not a big fan of the bring back Frank Wilson or else crowd, where it's kind of like extortion, like, you better do this type thing. I think that it'd be great to have him back, but life would go on if he would not be back. This is not me trying to be ugly or whatever, but if you look, he was not on the staff in 2003, 2007, or 2019. Those were years LSU won national titles and built national championship teams. He was on the 2011 staff, which for the most part I'd put up against any of those three teams. So I think that either way, I think LSU will move forward and do well. If he is back, that is great. If he is unable to come back, then I think LSU will survive and they will move forward. I'm trying to think what else I was going to say on the matter, but certainly hoping that it works out for him. He's got a long history, 30-plus years of recruiting South Louisiana, his connections to New Orleans. He will coach this bowl game. I hope he's able to at least win the bowl game. I think he did a fantastic job in terms of keeping the rats from running off the ship, so to speak. I mean, there were no mass defections. There weren't a bunch of guys opting out on the team after Brian Kelly was fired. I think the team played hard. They certainly gave great effort. You saw that at Alabama. You saw that at Oklahoma. I just think that your offense was so disproportionately inept in comparison to your defense that they were unable to win games. But it would be nice to see him as a head coach for one last time for LSU, go win this bowl game in Houston and close out the year on the right foot. A bowl game, by the way, that is really quirky in terms of, LSU going to have to leave Baton Rouge on Christmas Eve, spend Christmas Day in Houston. There's not a whole lot of media opportunities for us to shoot and, go do things. I used to think one of the best things about bowl games was, especially the ones in Florida and others, they'd make the offensive coordinator available. They'd make the defensive coordinator available. It'd be like the only time of year you'd hear people like Steve Ensminger and Dave Aranda do a press conference. But I don't think the Texas Bowl is doing much of anything. And so from a media standpoint, I think we might get there on the 26th, the day before, and then, just cover the game, which, by the way, is a 8:15 or whatever kickoff at night. So it's a late start on a Saturday night. So anyway, that's the bowl situation for Frank Wilson and the Tigers.
You sound thrilled.
Well, I got the best job in the world. I'm not complaining, but I'm just, I like bowl games. I grew up on them. I thought that they always provided an opportunity to – these are things a lot of people say or they don't care about. I thought it was always a chance to finish higher in the rankings, like if you were 12th or 13th, or you play a nice bowl game, you win, you finish in the top 10, you say you have a top 10 finish, if you have 9 wins, it looks a lot better on paper to go 10-3 than 9-4. Momentum for the off season. I mean, Lloyd, you remember we had a conversation the other day in a chat. I was saying in 2005, would you rather the season end with you getting smashed by Georgia in the SEC championship, or would you rather the season end with LSU smashing Miami 40-3 in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl and have that kind of feeling into the off season? I think that's what bowl games provide, or they did provide. But then at the same time, Brian Kelly's first year, LSU goes and beats Purdue in the bowl 63-7. They don't move up a single spot in the final rankings. I mean, they get 10 wins. But so I think, and then sometimes we made too big of a deal out of, win the bowl game and you got momentum into the offseason. Well, LSU, 10 years ago, it goes to show you how much bowls have changed. 10 years ago, LSU plays Texas Tech in the Texas Bowl, and it's sold out. It's wall to wall. I mean, it was rocking. The most rocking atmosphere I've ever seen for a bowl game outside of a national championship or a playoff. And Texas Tech has a quarterback by the name of Patrick Mahomes playing, who at the time you just say, okay, this guy's another stat machine in Texas Tech's offense. He's not going to be a NFL quarterback, and certainly proved us wrong there. Leonard Fournette, I think, scored 4 or 5 touchdowns running free, and LSU wins that game to put up 56 points. But what did it matter in the following season opener when you play in Wisconsin and you lose the game because your offense is inept against the real defense? So that's where kind of bowl games are. They've kind of become the NIT. Like the NCAA tournament is in basketball, it's the one you want to make it, and then a lot of teams say, "Nah, we're not going to play in the NIT." Ben Simmons, that's what's happening these days with football.
And now that you bring up that bowl game with Leonard Fournette against Texas Tech, where he did run for almost 3 bills and 5 touchdowns, do you think that was the reason maybe Les Miles looked back and goes, "No, you know what? I'm not going to change the offense. This seems to work just fine."
Well, I think if you remember in the Texas A&M post-game press conference when they won, and I think just literally found out he was going to remain the coach. I mean, they carried him off the field. I remember the guys carrying him. I think it was like Christian Lockature and some of those guys, KJ Malone. I think he thought when he's being carried off, that's it. Mm-hmm. And then when he got his feet back on the ground off the shoulders of the offensive lineman, they told him, "Coach, you're going to stay. You're the head coach." And then he immediately goes to the podium, and I think it was the late great Ed Daniels asked him, "Coach, are you going to revamp the offense?" And then he immediately got defiant. Coach Miles did, and said, "Revamp the offense. Does that mean change the whole engine? Does that mean Leonard Fournette? Because the engine's pretty stinking good."
Yeah.
I mean, so. It was clear right in that moment that he was going to continue to say, "Hey, we're going to get our big star running back and bang away," and for the most part that worked until you play Alabama, who puts 35 people in the box and you're still trying to run the ball and you can't throw it down the field. So, but yeah, that was and if you remember, which I'm sure you do, they went to they played this. Everything was perfect, but the game. They go to Green Bay, Wisconsin. It's beautiful. It's cool. It's you're in like football royalty is all around you. Football history. You're at Lambeau Field, and first 2 plays of the game, I think, were tossed dies with Leonard Fournette, and LSU lost 16-14. I think Tre'Davious White actually had a touchdown on a pick 6. LSU only scored 1 offensive touchdown. Had a chance actually to drive the ball down the field at the end and looked like they were going to maybe get a chance to get Kobe Delahousse in range to kick the game winner. But then I think it was a first down or something. They blitzed Harris, and Brandon Harris just threw the ball up and to a red jersey who caught it, and that was the end of the game.
Oh yeah, then you
got mauled.
Yeah, then you had they didn't know he was down,
Sure.
and he was celebrating. Yeah, that was a scene at the end of that game.
Clothesline?
Yes, by the offensive line. I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah, the engine was pretty stinking good that A&M game where LSU and Brandon Harris were 7 of 21 with 1 interception for 83 yards. Maybe we should reevaluate, but that's just me. Is he not the luckiest man in the world where he's getting carried off the field thinking this is my coup de grace, and it's like actually you're coming back next year. It's like oh look at me again.
Well, I think it was emotional decisions made against A&M 10 years apart. I think in that game, LSU did not look like a fantastic football team. They won the game, but I think they decided in the press box we're keeping Les Miles. And then this year against Texas A&M, LSU's up at halftime, and then they have the worst third quarter in the history of third quarters, give up a big punt return, and look like they quit. And I think it started to be decided then. The optics looked so bad. The stadium emptied out. The A&M students took over the LSU student section. Verge is leaning up against the goalpost in the north end zone, staring out into space. And I think that the emotions got going there. And by Saturday evening, LSU had announced that Brian Kelly was on his way out. So there you go. Emotional decisions against Texas A&M 10 years apart.
Yep, one it feels like may work out better than the other. But when you think about that, aside from the emotion being, I guess you take it out of it, even though I do think that Texas A&M was the impetus of change for LSU to absolutely make a switch, because I don't think the excitement level would be the same going into 2026 without Brian Kelly being fired and obviously Lane Kiffin being hired. But you saw the ticket prices not change, but then the ticket sales go up. If there isn't that Texas A&M game and Brian Kelly, what would be the outlook around LSU for 2026?
Well, I mean, if they did enough to keep his job, I mean, it's hard to do.
Let's just say with Brian Kelly.
Yeah, no, I think that. I mean, and that was the information. That was one little tidbit that I shared yesterday that came out in the interview with Zach Greenwell. He told me that since the hiring of Lane Kiffin, that LSU season ticket requests are 15,000. He told me that's already surpassed what they had all of last year, and about 7,500 of those, or half of the 15,000, occurred in the first 24 hours of hiring Lane Kiffin. And so, which I asked, I think LSU has been sold out on season tickets for years. I think it's around 75,000 or something like that they sell. But he said that with those requests, you begin to connect with people, you begin to network, and then you also begin to the corporate sponsorship, the donations, all those things go up. And I think, I don't think Brian Kelly at that point, or at this point, I don't think he was doing a whole lot to move the meter with the fan base. I think the fan base, for the most part, accepted him as a pretty good coach, but had plateaued, was not going to take LSU to the next level, was getting a bit older, and just stale. We use that word a lot around here when coaches, even when they're not bottoming out, if they're winning, they're still winning okay, but it's just gotten stale. It's not going to the next level. You don't feel like it's going to the next level. And certainly I think this was his worst team of the four at LSU. So you take a guy like Lane Kiffin, who is a very young 50 years old, who is connecting with fans on Twitter. Heck, he's retweeted you guys. He's retweeted me a few times. He's connecting with the local media at 4 a.m. He's up
Right.
working and retweeting. I mean, and I just have visions of him wearing, a purple shirt and a white visor with a little Mike the Tiger in the middle, pumping his fist after a big touchdown call, and fans going ecstatic. I think that he really leans into a large segment of the fan base who wear the Play Neck T-shirt and the STTDB T-shirt. They love the kind of anti-authority figure, and he is kind of he kind of implements the whole. It's great not to grow up to an extent. I mean, he is able to do this at a high level, call great plays, lead offensive teams, and still kind of be youthful and energetic. And I think that that's going to be a big contrast to Brian Kelly, who was came across more, at least that's what they purchased.
Rule for thee, but not for me.
What's that?
Rule for thee, but not for me, Brian Kelly.
Yeah. And I think it was, and then sometimes it was things like, even when Brian Kelly was correct, for example, the end of the Arkansas game this year, Harlem Berry slid down. And that was the right thing, and he was coached up well by Frank Wilson. That was the right thing to do. When LSU played Missouri in 2023, at the end of the game, Major Harris intercepted a pass.
Major Burns.
And by coaching rule, he should have slid down.
Right.
Okay. Now, it's hard to tell any 18 to 22-year-old who intercepts the ball and has 5 yards of green in front of him to not score a touchdown. But technically, he should not have scored. He should have slid down, because LSU, even though they scored the touchdown, they had to kick off. They had to go back on the field and play defense. If he slides down, they kneel it out. And well, Brian Kelly, at the end of the game, I asked him about it in the post game. He goes, he knows better. He knows he shouldn't do that. Go down, And the fans just jumped all over Brian Kelly, like, you old no fun guy. You don't get us. You don't understand the fan base. And it was basically the same thing that happened in 2 cases. So, I think that they're going to want to – I think Lane Kiffin will really engage and excite people around here. Now, is he going to do a coach's show like TJ Ribbs every week? I'm not sure about that from what you hear. I don't know if he did one at Ole Miss, but I think if he wins, and winning I think is 10-2, winning is not 8-4. But if he's 10-2 and makes playoff appearances and wins some playoff games, that's what you want. I mean, I ask, what's the difference between going 7-5 and not making a playoff, and 10-2 and making a playoff? And it is a huge financial impact and difference at LSU if they can do that.
And then last one, JD, has there ever been this high a level of excitement with an LSU coaching hire than how it is right now?
Well, let's see. I mean, in my lifetime, certainly not with Mike Archer, certainly not with Curly Hallman. I think Jerry DiNardo did a very good job early on. I think he generated a ton of excitement early on, doing a lot of things that, you have to keep in mind where LSU was. They had 6 straight losing seasons. They had not been to a bowl game in, like I said, those 6 years. And he came in immediately and got Kevin Falk to sign with LSU, who changed everything. LSU was not cool. Kevin Falk made LSU cool again, and then had a lot of people sign. A lot more people signed because Kevin Falk was going to LSU. Jared DiNardo brought back the white jerseys. LSU had been playing home games in purple, and fans loved those white jerseys, which is kind of ironic because I think last year they wore like 12 different jerseys.
Right.
Wear the white jerseys. Old man here. But yeah, I think Jared DiNardo did a lot of things early on that really excited the fan base and energized them. And then after that, I think that I think a lot of people didn't really know a whole lot about Nick Saban when he became the head coach, honestly. He was head coach at Michigan State that DiNardo beat in the Independence Bowl in 1995. His record wasn't much better than DiNardo's, about the same. Who is this guy? Why are we paying him $1.2 million? I think that was a view by a lot of people. Les Miles definitely was not an energizing hire at the time. He was 28-21 at Oklahoma State. I think in his last game at Oklahoma State, he was drilled in a bowl game, 31-0, if I'm not mistaken. That definitely was not exciting. And Ed Ogeron, I think a lot of people were like, this could either really work or this is going to be a huge disaster. And so that was not. So, yeah, I would think that in my lifetime, Bo Ryan was named the head coach in the late 70s, and he tragically never coached the game because of a plane crash. He was going to take over for Charles McClendon and then Jerry Stovall and then Bill Arnsparger. So, yeah, I think that as far as a head coaching hire in the last at least 45, 50 years, he has energized the fan base like no other coach has.
Well, JD, we appreciate your time. What do y'all have going on over at WAFB?
Well, once again, Lane Change is the name of our Lane Kiffin special that's going to air.
Oh.
You like it? You like it?
Did you get that from somebody else, or is this original?
I cannot take credit on that one. I was given a selection of 6 of them. There was a couple that did not work. Kiffin's Kingdom, nah. It's a couple other ones that, just the whole, the lane train it was great, but everyone's used it. So I like the lane change. I thought it was perfect. We're going to go with that. 6:30 WAFB Saturday night. Roundtable discussion with some media members: Mike Scarborough, Jordy Collada, Rohan Davey. Even got sound from Jay Johnson, LSU baseball coach, on Lane Kiffin. So a lot of great things. And also Kramer Robertson, who's now former baseball star, working alongside Verge Osberry in the department there. And so that'll air this week. John Eads and Kevin Baptiste will be in the Superdome. We have state championships. We have teams. Dunham's playing for a state title. Ascension Catholic playing for a state title. Riverside will be in the Superdome. We'll be covering that. And then basketball. Kevin Baptiste will be in New Orleans on Saturday. There's the basketball doubleheader. Both the LSU men and women are playing in the Smoothie King Center. I had a much harder time getting inside the UNO Lakefront Arena to cover the game and finding the proper entrance on Sunday for the LSU women than the women had playing UNO. I'll tell you that. Right. Had about 100 points at the end of the third quarter. So Kim Mulkey's got it. I mean, we've been obviously and understandably consumed with football and all that, but I don't know if this is going to be Kim Mulkey's best team, considering she had a national championship team her second year. But this team is loaded, and they're exciting. I realize they have not played South Carolina and a lot of tough competition yet. But when you score 100 points or more in 9 of your first 10 games, it's exciting. So that's all coming up. And then check out the latest Jacques Talks. We've had some great conversations at WAFB.com and our YouTube page.
Well, JD, we appreciate you as always, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. There he is.